Hello and welcome to this week's episode of our Tech Talk, where we'll be talking about the Bentley S2. This car may not look very pretty. This is in fact its original paint. So this car came to us from a chap who lives in London. He originally bought the car in from America, and this is the original paint that's been baked in the Arizona desert. So yeah, it's a bit rough around the edges. We've done lots of welding to it, but it's now structurally sound, and we've made a really good dent on the progress in terms of the EV conversion, which we're going to get into in a minute. So this is Ben. Ben knows lots about wiring and clever stuff, and he's going to talk you through the 54 kilowatt hour battery pack that we're using for the S2.
So this is our first of our universal battery packs that we're starting to make now. We're trying to standardize a lot of things that we're doing now. So this is, like Jack said, 54 kilowatt hour pack. It's 360 volt nominal. It's based on the ID4 modules, so we've got 8 in series.
These are actually a new module, aren't they?
Yeah.
So they're not, we're going down the avenue of trying new modules instead of using second-hand, just because sometimes when you need second-hand modules, they're quite hard to get hold of. So this is a new module that we're really excited about testing. So yeah, we'll use this battery pack. We're using the S2. We're going to we might use it in the DB6, and there's loads of different cars that we can hopefully standardise this to and basically save a lot of our labour costs. But yeah, when we go over here, Ben can talk you through the lid.
Yeah, so starting at the front, we have our DC-DC and charger module. And then coming up onto top, we've got our fuses for the charger and the heater. Coming along, our current sensor, negative contactor, pre-charge contactor, positive contactor, pre-charge resistor, our service disconnect here. And then on this side, we have 2 connectors at the back, one for the motor/inverter and another one for a parallel battery pack if we ever wanted to put one in. And at the back, we have our Orion BMS. And then on the side here, there's space for our CCS connector, so the pack will be capable of CCS on whichever modules that we need it on, whichever models we need it on.
Yeah, pretty cool. So this whole lid, I won't do it now, but this lifts up, quite heavy, and you basically lifts up and goes over all of this. And the advantage of that is you can do all of your wiring, all your high voltage wiring, or your cell tap wires, and make sure everything's torqued up, perfect and tested, and then you lift this whole assembly on and literally just connect your cell taps and you're good to go. And this battery pack here is 54 kilowatt hours, which is pretty decent. So in the S2, we'd easily get 150 mile range. And this in an S2 engine bay, it looks relatively small. You know, it's amazing how modules have come on since when we first started. Okay, so yeah, come and check this out. I've just lifted it up to show you the drivetrain assembly basically within this. So this motor is out of a Lexus GS 450H, so it's an amazing package, 2 electric motors and a gear reduction built in. So this is all bolted into existing chassis mounts. There's no modifications being made at all. So at the front, this is our inverter. This is actually a Toyota inverter. So that takes the DC battery and converts it to AC basically for the electric motor. And that's mounted to the front of the motor. And this whole assembly is one unit which lifts up in. So yeah, you've got your inverter, and then coming back, this is the twin motor setup. So you've got a motor here and here, your oil pump, and then coming back here, we've got the custom prop adapter that we machined up onto the, so we've got the original Bentley prop flange bolted to the Lexus prop flange. And we've reused all of the original OEM mounts. So all of the rubber mounts are really super important to reuse them if you can. These OEM manufacturers have spent a long time getting the whole harmonic vibrations right to make it as quiet as possible. Basically, these mounts on the front we've reused. They're oil-filled mounts, and there's a reason why Toyota decided to use these. So if we can reuse anything OEM, we do, and we've managed to just about squeeze these in, which really makes a difference to the driving of the car. When you do a conversion, like making everything smooth and quiet is really important. We've often used poly bushes in the past and just such a bad idea because it makes everything tight and noisy, and so the bigger the bushes, or the bigger the mounts, the better, basically. Yeah, talking about the motor, over here on the floor, I've got a whole one here you can check out, basically. So a lot of people, when they look at this, they say, oh, that's weird, you've got a gearbox in your electric conversion. It does look like a gearbox, because it kind of is a gearbox, but basically if I could cut this away, you'd see inside this assembly is 2 electric motors. You can see the phase connections here and here, so that's where the first motor is and the second motor. One of the motors in the original car was for a generator and starter motor to charge the hybrid battery pack, but that motor was never used for traction in the application for the hybrid vehicle. But in this instance, we're using it for traction. So we're basically getting a lot more power than the original setup had. So we're using both electric motors for traction. So we've got electric motors, and then somewhere around here, there's a small gear reduction. You need a gear reduction. If you're going electric motor straight into the prop, you need some sort of gear reduction. You can't just whap a motor on the differential, it doesn't work. So put it in perspective, this is a Nissan Leaf motor. So this is the output shaft of the motor here. You couldn't just couple that to a rear axle, because it wouldn't have enough torque, basically. So you have to have some sort of gear reduction. This has already got it built in, which is great. This Leaf stack is another great option. I'll show you the gear reduction box for that. So this is what you have to have if you're going to go Leaf or anything else. You have to have this. This is a 2-to-1 gear reduction box that we've designed this really nice coupler for. But it's quite a lot of work. And this is a great thing. So that bolts onto here, like that. And this has probably actually got less torque than that. But you can see, it makes you realise how good this package is when it delivers more torque and power than that. Bearing in mind, this has also got a charger and a DC-DC converter and fast charging all built in. This is a great package in itself. But if you want performance, then this is one for you. In the engine bay, do you want to come have a look at this? Get in. It's a bit of a rat's nest at the moment because we're in the middle of wiring up. So there's a lot of wiring. So Ben's been working on the 12-volt system. So they've had this really nice 12-volt fuse here, fuse box, which there's quite a lot of fuses, isn't there, Ben? Quite a lot of stuff going on. We've got a kind of a low current fuse box here and a much higher current fuse box underneath for your stuff like power steering and electronic booster. So in terms of electronic booster, by far the biggest challenge on this car was the braking system. So the Bentley S2, the way the braking system works is it has a servo. Instead of having a conventional vacuum servo, it has a servo on the gearbox that basically only works when you're driving the car. So it's super difficult. The brakes are basically really hard to make them servo actuated. So usually we can reuse the original master cylinder, but we couldn't because it was basically mounted in a ridiculous place. So what we did was we went for a Tesla iBooster. So this thing here is a master cylinder and electronic servo built in. So we've managed to, after a lot of trial and error and a lot of thought, we managed to get the original brake pedal mechanism to operate this booster here. So this, sorry, it's a little bit of a rat's nest, but this bracket here operates. You can see when you push the foot on the brake, it's operating that brake booster. So that was probably the hardest part because Bentley, the design on the servo is just crazy and not easy to redesign. But we're really happy with that result. It's going to work really well. Another thing we've reused is we've kept the accelerator pedal standard in this. And down here, I can't reach it, but we've got a Bosch Hall effect throttle pot. So if I were to operate the throttle, actually I'll operate the throttle now so you can see. Put my torch there. Ooh. I'll operate the throttle, you'll see how that's working. So what's nice about that is it's basically standard. So we're not changing any of the pedal positioning. It always feels exactly the same. And that will send a signal to this VCU here, which controls the drive unit. We've repurposed the original brake fluid reservoirs and sent them down here with a custom billet aluminium adapter here. Another thing to add is power steering. So this already has a power steering unit built into it. So the pump was on the front of the engine. So we've now got this electronic pump which is going to be plumbed in for power steering. And this whole assembly here is where the battery box sits on. So if you look closely, you can see that the whole assembly has been fabricated to bolt into all the existing mounts. This takes a lot longer to design like this, but it means that the car will be completely DVLA approved, and we're not drilling any holes anywhere, and we're keeping the car very standard. So this whole subframe houses the motor, inverter, oil pump, controller, everything, as well as the battery box. So the battery box will slide down in here and bolt into this really strong structure. So we're really happy with that result. And one last thing, forward and reverse switch in this car. We've managed to repurpose the standard stalk shift. So this car was automatic. So you have to probably come around the other side, but yeah, Will, a very talented guy, has made this beautiful brass plate, which basically shows your neutral, drive, and reverse. So that brass plate there has been handmade and punched out, and it just really looks nice. And we haven't disturbed any of this. We're going to keep all this standard. The client doesn't want, anything, fancy here. We keep it all standard. Under here, you can't see it, but we've got a high voltage heater, which is about 3 kilowatt heater, which is going to do your heating system. And we've re-spun the switches here, so you've got hot and cold, and that's that. Okay, that's probably just about it for this week's Tech Talk, but we're hoping to get the battery box in later in this week and start spinning it up and hopefully testing soon. So we'll do another video and we will report back. We're really excited about doing some test miles in this car. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.